Shalom, everyone. Welcome back to Talmidei Yehoah. I'm Moriah Ben Avraham, and today we're starting an exciting new series on Torah study tools. In this multi-part series, I'll share with you the resources and tools I use every day to delve deeper into the Torah and Tanakh. In part one, we're focusing on my favorite handheld device tools that make Torah study convenient and accessible no matter where you are, so let's dive right in. First up is the Hebrew Bible app developed by Zev Clemenson. You can find it on the App Store. I have the link in the description below. This app is a gem for Hebrew readers and learners. It provides the complete Hebrew text with options to view the text in traditional script or a modern font. The navigation is smooth, enabling you to find any book in the Tanakh with any chapter that's in that book, and you can quickly scroll to any particular verse in that chapter. Let's just start with Breshith, that's Genesis chapter 1. I'll hit read. You can see here that I have it set right now for reading it in parallel. You can read it with the English on one side, the Hebrew on the other. And whether you're using this mode or just the Hebrew alone, you have one touch capability to open up any particular Hebrew word to understand the definition of that particular word. So for example, over here, if I'm going to open up this wavohu word, you could see that the Hebrew is bohu. Underneath that, emptiness, void, waste. And that's just a quick reference to the Strong's Concordance number, the theological word book of the Old Testament, the definitions coming from there. And if you wanted to dive deeper here, you could even use the BDB page or the list of verses for this particular word. Although when we get into talking about the second tool in this particular video, I'll show you a tool that makes that even easier. Now, another thing that you can do here is you can just very quickly change whether you're reading Hebrew, English in parallel to just straight Hebrew. If you're more advanced in your Hebrew studies, you want to read the Hebrew with the cancellation, all you need to do is just come to the settings as I've shown you here, hit done, and suddenly now you just have just the complete Hebrew, again with the ability to quickly click on any particular word, like let's say for example bara, and see how that word has been variously translated, because here initially we have the Strong's Concordance references which show you how the word has been translated. But then you also get the theological word book of the Old Testament definitions to take you a little bit deeper. And you do have, again, as I mentioned, the reference to Brown Driver's Briggs lexicon, which is a dictionary. And the difference between a lexicon, which is like a dictionary based off of understanding the Hebrew language, versus, let's say, Strong's Concordance, which is really a list of how the word was translated. That's the main difference. A Strong's Concordance is not necessarily based on the history and context of the language, more just how translators have variously translated the word. So to get deeper into understanding the message coming out of the text, it's very helpful to use lexicons, which are actually Hebrew dictionaries. So we have Brown's Driver's Brig reference here, and then you also have the capability to just get a list of every verse where this word is used. I'm not going to dive into that right now, but that's something that once you download this app, you can quickly see. Next, let's look at the Blue Letter Bible app. Also available on the App Store for iPhone users. This one is also available for Android users, so wherever you normally download your Android apps, search there. This app is available. And I'll put a link, at least for the iPhone app users, in the description below. The Blue Letter Bible is a comprehensive tool that offers not just the Hebrew Bible, but a wealth of study resources. Here you could see I've got it opened up to the same chapter and verse, Breshith, that is Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1, just so you could see the comparison between this tool and the previous tool, the Hebrew Bible, that I showed you earlier. As you can see, I've got the Westminster Leningrad Codex open on the right side, and then I have the New American Standard Bible 2020 edition opened on the left side. Now, you can easily change this. Just click on these Bibles at the top, and you can see that you've got the version selector. If I don't want parallel, I can choose none on the right side and hit go, and then I'm just reading just the New American Standard Version, and I can switch back just as easily as I switched to show you that back to having parallel, where I normally like to have the Hebrew on one side and the English on the other. Different from the Hebrew Bible app, you don't get the capability here of clicking once on a word and getting the definition. But what you do get is by clicking on a verse, let's say, for example, we click on this first verse, I get a number of tools. I have the interlinear concordance, Bible comparison, cross references, text commentaries, audio or video, and dictionaries. Now, there's a number of other tools as you go down. I don't necessarily personally use everything in this app. I mainly focus on the interlinear concordance capability, and I love the cross-reference capability and the Bible comparison. Those I find most helpful. So to give you an example of how I make use of the app, let's just go to the interlinear concordance first. When you click on the interlinear concordance, you'll see the Hebrew text. Let's say, for example, I wanted to better understand what the word bara means. And it's the second word in this verse. So we've got Breshith bara. I want to understand that word better. So I would look down and you'll see it's the second word. So first there's Breshith in the beginning, it's translated. And then you see bara. So this is sort of an interlinear, and you can see how it's translated. So bara is translated as created. I can click now on the Strong's reference number, which is H1254, okay? And that brings me now to the definition of this word. I see bara. I can see it transliterated. There's a sound file, so you can see how it's pronounced. I don't know how accurate those sound files are, to be honest. I have occasionally clicked on them and found them not to be the most accurate. And so it's just better to learn to read Hebrew yourself, and then you'll definitely always know exactly how to pronounce these words. But again, this word is pronounced bara. As you can see, the part of speech is verb, and then you can look at the etymology of this word. It'll give you initially outline of biblical usage. This is what Strong's does. Strong's Concordance is really a reference to how it's been variously translated by the translators. And then if you go down to King James Version translation count, you can see that it was used 54 times. And then it gives you a listing of each way it was translated. Create 42 times. Creator 3 times. Choose 2 times. Make 2 times. Cut down 2 times. Dispatch 1 time. Done 1 time. And make fat 1 time. Again, this is powerful because now you're starting to see immediately, just through the use of this tool, how there are nuances to this single word, and the translators are doing their best to try to convey those nuances by translating the word differently depending on the context. And sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they get it wrong. And that's why it's so important for you to be able to understand the original word and the Hebrew language so you can better understand. You may make a better judgment than the translators have in many cases. Going further, you can see now there's 2 lexicons, Brown Drivers Briggs lexicon. That's, again, another powerful tool. A lexicon, as I mentioned earlier, is a dictionary as opposed to just an outline of usage. So we've got 2 lexicons available for us. You can see one says it's a verb, shape or create. That's the Browns Drivers Briggs. If you go down to Jacinius, it says to cut, to carve out. In fact, I clicked on it here and you can see bara. Future tense is yivra. To cut, to carve out, to form by cutting. You can just read through all the definitions. This is literally a photocopy, a digitized copy of a page of the actual book. If you bought the book, you'd see the page looked exactly like this. So this is, again, powerful tool at your fingertips. Navigating back, I want to show the power of Bible comparison, of using different translations. Because this really puts so many translations in your hand. It's really a powerful tool that can help unlock or help you see through what may seem to be contradictions, but are mainly misunderstandings based off of poor translations. So a clear example is in Bamidbar, that's Numbers chapter 35, and we'll just look at verse 12. We'll just go straight to the heart of the issue. So you type in the first three letters of Numbers, N-U-M. I will just type in 35 and verse 12. I'm going to jump right to that verse, and the verse reads like this in English. The city shall serve you as a refuge from the avenger, so that the one who commits manslaughter does not die until he stands before the congregation for trial. Now, the Hebrew reads like this. V'hayulachem he'arim lemiklat migoel ve'lo yamuth harotzeach ad amdo lifnei ha'edah la mishpat. Now the problem is many don't understand the Hebrew well enough to see where there's a mistranslation in this particular verse. But without even knowing or being able to read the Ivrit, the Hebrew, you can get to the issue at hand. The issue at hand is, are we supposed to take vengeance into our own hands? Are we talking here about an avenger? And it's interesting because the Hebrew word is goel, and goel actually means redeemer. But what happened is most of the translators just follow what King James did. They don't often challenge the King James translation, which was one of the first and certainly one of the more popular English translations. So if we look at Bible comparison, we see that, okay, we just read it in the New American Standard Bible 2020, and they used the word avenger. And as you scroll down, you'll see CSB used avenger. King James, of course, was the original probably that started with this idea of avenger. And so the idea now is that, oh, wait, this is an avenger. But notice Young's literal translation, which is the YLT. YLT stands for Young's literal translation. It says, and the cities have been to you for a refuge from the Redeemer. And the manslayer does not lie till his standing before the company of judgment. So this is not an avenger, but a redeemer of blood. And that does make a big difference, especially if you understand that it says in Vayikra, that's Leviticus 19, verse 18, that you shall not avenge the blood of your brother, right? So basically, you're not supposed to be an avenger. You're supposed to be a redeemer of blood from your near relative, not an avenger or not seeking revenge. Well, let's just notice also, I'm going to go back now here to the interlinear, and we'll use the power of the tool by clicking on the word migoel, that is from the goel. So it's from the word, the root here is going to be the gaal. I'll click on gaal, which is H1350, and we'll see it means redeemer. Act as a kinsman redeemer, right? Not an avenger, not seeking revenge, but you're doing your part and redeeming the blood from the person who actually unlawfully took the blood of your near kinsman, brother, sister, father, mother, relative, close, your near kinsman. You have a responsibility to redeem. This word, ga'al, notice how it's variously translated. Used 104 times, 50 times as redeem, 18 times as redeemer, 13 times as kinsman, and these 7 times where you see revenger or avenger are really where it should be translated as, again, a redeemer of the blood, never really taking vengeance. Let's look at Vayikra chapter 19, verse 18. It says, Lo tikom, you shall not take vengeance, nor hold any grudge against the sons of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. I am Yehovah. It's not for us to take vengeance, but there's no contradiction because the Hebrew word translated vengeance here is correct. It's tikom, lo thikom, velo thitor eth b'nei ameka, ve'ahavta l'reaka kamoka ani Yehovah. And again, if we click on it, we use the power of the tool, we can quickly dive into the word that is translated as vengeance here. And notice it's this word nakam, okay? And it means to avenge, to take vengeance, revenge. This is the word that really means revenge. This is not a word that means redeem. This is a word that literally does mean to take vengeance. And vengeance belongs to Yehovah. It's not something that we should take into our own hands. In summary, the Blue Letter Bible is an extensive and powerful tool. It's literally putting a library of cross-references, commentaries, lexicons, and translations in your pocket. This app is particularly useful, as you have seen, when you want to explore the nuances of the text and understand the historical and cultural context of a passage. These are just 2 of the handheld devices and tools that I use every day to enhance my Torah study. The Hebrew Bible app is perfect for reading the original Hebrew text and exploring its meanings, while the Blue Letter Bible app offers a wealth of resources to deepen your understanding. In the next part of this series, we'll explore more fantastic tools, including Safaria and Bible.com applications. So make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you stay updated. And if you have any favorite apps or tools that you use for Torah study, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and until next time, Shalom, Shalom.